Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. We have a new head hockey coach, and Michigan football is enjoying Rome. And we'll even see the Pope on Wednesday before getting started with the 3 remaining spring practice sessions. Editor John Borton from the Wolverine magazine is my guest today on our Game Day segment. It's that time of year again when things start slowing down for the summer on the Michigan athletic scene. So a reminder that in May, June, and July, we are on our summer schedule of 2 regular shows a month and probably a Michigan Man Extra each month. And when that airs, I will alert you on Facebook and Twitter. So as I say every year, we're not going away, just slowing down to enjoy summer before it gets crazy again in August as we prepare for another season of Michigan football and go back to our regular programming schedule. Before we get to news and notes today, a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Skills. Skills lets you play the mobile games you love and win real cash prizes. Check out the bowling game because it is very addictive and the pool game a lot of fun. All Skills games are free to play with the option of competing for cash and prizes. That's right, you can win real money playing games on your iOS or Android device. Mike C. and Alex H. both won over $100,000 playing strike bowling on their phone. In fact, Skills has awarded over $70 million in prizes since 2014. You can win up to $150 in a single tournament with entry fees as low as a penny. Skills has a variety of games including puzzles, bubble bursting, bowling, pool, solitaire, trivia, and much more. Join over 50,000 users that have won over $100 or more. Download your favorite game at skills.com/Michigan and start winning cash playing games on your phone or tablet. And when you make a deposit, use the promo code Michigan for an extra $10. That's skills.com, skills with a Z. On news and notes today, we'll keep it short because John Borton and I covered a lot of ground on the Game Day segment, and it's about 37 minutes in length. Jake Long announced on Monday he's calling it quits after 9 years in the NFL. The last few years have been injury-plagued for Jake, and he's decided enough is enough. So best wishes to a great Michigan man, Jake Long, as he begins his life after football. Red Berenson's retirement leaves big shoes to fill for Michigan hockey. Ward Manuel, with I'm sure some input from Red, announced over the weekend that Mel Pearson was coming back and would be the next head coach for Michigan hockey. And that's to no one's surprise. Up next on Game Day, John Borton and I will discuss that, Michigan's Rome adventure, and much more here on The Michigan Man on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Back with us on this week's edition of our Game Day segment is the editor of the Wolverine magazine, John Borton. John, great to have you back with us.
Good to be back with you, Mike.
As we know, a very busy time with a lot going on in the Michigan athletic scene right now. The big story, Mel Pearson announced as the successor to Coach Red Berenson for Michigan hockey. I'm not sure if that was a well-kept secret or not, but it's great news for all followers of Michigan hockey.
Well, we had people telling us that this was a very likely event to come about, and now it has. They've made it official. Michigan hiring Mel Pearson as head hockey coach, and I think you had a signal of it, or at least of something along these lines, when Ward Manuel, Michigan's athletic director, retains Red as an advisor after his retirement. Well, obviously, Red is going to have input, and he signaled things in his retirement statements talking about he'd love to see it be someone who knows Michigan, who gets Michigan, who knows the values here and how it ought to be, and all of that. And that pretty well screams a former assistant, someone who was in the mix in Michigan's heyday, and in recent years. And now he's been at Michigan Tech for 6, but Mel Pearson gets it. He gets Red Berenson, he gets Michigan hockey, and so I don't think it's a huge surprise to too many.
Look what he did at Michigan Tech in his, almost 6 years there. A team that went, I think, 34 years without a postseason appearance, and they've been back the last, I believe, 3 years. But when he was behind the bench with Red here at Michigan, always known as a great recruiter, too.
Oh, no doubt about it. And Michigan did some great recruiting along in those years. And you look at the players that they brought in and that they sent to the NHL, that's a part of it. There's no doubt these days, especially because as they went along, they were able to retain so many players for so many years throughout the course of their normal college career, and that's tougher and tougher these days. You get somebody that is an exceptional player, and they're gone after a year or two, and so you are constantly trying to replace great talent with great talent. And so that will be a challenge. There's no doubt about it, because I would say it was a different game in the 1990s when Michigan was just absolutely at the apex of the college hockey world. It's tougher to stay up there if you're not continually just reloading that talent pipeline. And I'll just add this. You said you talked about the last 3 years for Michigan Tech hockey, and Mel Pearson had him at 75, 34, and 14 over those years. He was, in his first 3 years, establishing a program there, reestablishing, and did a pretty good job with it. You look at when Red Berenson came into Michigan hockey and tried to reestablish things after a number of rocky years. He had 3 sub-500 seasons in a row, and then just took off for decades of really a dominant program. So I think that Mel went up there and showed what he had to show as a head coach, which was a necessary thing. It probably wasn't easy for him to leave Michigan because he loved it here, but to go and establish himself to be a head coach, and so you come to this point, and it looks like he's made all the right moves, because this opens up. And I know that deep down, this would be something that he would have coveted all those years, thinking about at some point, Red is going to hang him up, and this opportunity would be here.
Probably unlike any of the other major Division I sports, John, hockey, when it comes to players leaving early, I know we worry about it in basketball. We see it to a degree, but later in the academic cycle for football players, you can have a number 1, number 2 recruiting class in hockey, and if it's that good, you might lose the bulk of them the next spring to the NHL draft. So hockey now at the NCAA Division I level, if you want to stay elite, you really cannot have an off year in recruiting, which makes his hire huge.
There's no doubt about it. And it's almost, if you have too good of a recruiting year, you have to load up that much more quickly, because those guys just aren't going to be around if they prove to be as good as they were looked at coming in. It's a very, very difficult situation. Like you mentioned, the other sport, football, somebody has to be around 3 years. It takes longer for football players to develop anyway, but there's some kind of assurance there that, okay, you're going to have somebody over this span of time if you sign them. Not the case in hockey, obviously. So absolutely, Mel and the staff that he puts together is going to have to not only recruit at a very high level every year, they're going to have to try to work some magic. I don't often bring Tom Izzo into a discussion of Michigan sports, but Tom Izzo has had a lot of success about having players stick around beyond when they could have gone pro. I mean, you look at Miles Bridges in the most recent example, staying when he wouldn't necessarily have had to. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you get some of these superstar players that could make that jump to the NHL, convince them that it's in their best interest to stick around another year or two.
Well, a lot of work to do, but great news for Michigan hockey fans. Rest easy. It will be interesting to watch here as we head into next year. The other thing we're all thinking about and following these days, John, of course, is Michigan football's trip to Rome. The team arrived in Rome early Sunday morning, our time, and they did not take a minute to rest. They were out seeing the sights and mingling as soon as they got off the plane, weren't they?
Oh, no doubt about it. You see them at the various spots that are so historic over in Rome, and just looking like they're having a ball, posing for all the pictures, the videos, talking to kids and to adults that are interested in American football, and you've got a Wilton Spate talking to refugees, and what an incredible educational experience for these guys. It's the way Jim Harbaugh thinks is amazing beyond trying to get to the Big Ten championship game, the playoffs, and all that, all of which he's going to do, by the way. But along the way, there's something special here. I think his old coach, Bo Schembechler, would be incredibly proud of him in what he's doing with this program, what he's injecting into it. The fact that, like in his own words, he'd love to see the student come back into student athlete. And in this sort of opportunity, he gets to expose players to a different part of the world, a different way of living, a different way of thinking, and then to have all of the educational opportunities that are going to be taking place beyond Rome when these guys fan out to Spain and to Iceland and to all over the place. It's really pretty amazing what they were able to, what Jim Harbaugh was able to conceive in his own mind, and then what they were able to logistically put together over a course of a few weeks.
It is amazing. I thought it was funny. After the game last week, after the spring game on BTN, Michelle McMahon was talking to Jim, and she said, "I'm surprised you haven't invited the Pope to practice, Jim." And he said, "We did, but he's busy." But we're going to get to see him on Wednesday. So that's another thing, as Jim said later, no other college football team can say they've seen the Pope.
There you go. And Jim's all about setting new standards, new records, 1% better, and he's got a few percent better when he takes these guys to Rome and puts them in situations that will grow them as people, will a trip that they'll remember the rest of their lives. And there's no doubt there's a PR element to this. You've got ESPN tagging along and broadcasting all of this, and Michigan football, and people down south are just tearing their hair out and grumbling over what's this guy doing and all of that. But that's a part of it. Jim Harbaugh has put Michigan football on display for the whole world to see. But at the same time, at the heart of it, what he's doing is taking his team and saying, you're going to have a growth experience here, and we're going to have a bonding experience, and this is all part of your education as a Michigan football player and as a University of Michigan student, and that's priceless.
And you just mentioned the PR element. I was wondering, from the minute we heard the team was going to Rome, how much media play this would get. I think for Michigan fans, it's been pretty easy, from ESPN to our local press. But I'm surprised. Just Google it. There are a ton of media outlets over there following this.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You've got all the daily people that cover this team. You've got ESPN. You've got just a host of people that wanted in on it. There's no doubt that Jim Harbaugh himself is a fascination. Michigan football is once again in the national limelight and figures to stay there for some time. You've got the element that none of these reporters, that a lot of the local people were pushing their bosses, saying, "Hey, we need to do this," knowing that they would be making that trip as well. It is part of the Harbaugh effect, the Harbaugh phenomenon that just keeps on going. He just thinks differently. He sees things differently. He sees a bigger picture than anyone around him, and it accrues to the benefit of Michigan football.
Well, we can't forget that intermingled with the educational and cultural experience this week is football. Free practices in Rome. There's still a lot of football to be coached and experienced.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. And there's points to be made, and there's a guy like quarterback Brandon Peters who would love to follow up on his spring game effort and show these coaches before they disperse for the summer that hey, that was no fluke. I'm a guy that should get serious consideration to be looked at as a challenger, as at least the top guy to go in if Wilton Speight should falter. On the other hand, you've got Wilton Speight probably smarting a little bit from a spring game effort that wasn't what he would have liked, and knowing, okay, he said after the game, there's going to be a buzz. I understand that. The quarterback is looked at and criticized and picked apart, and he knows what the fans are going to be saying. I mean, I was walking around to the press conferences outside of Michigan Stadium, and I heard the little clusters of, so Peters is the guy. Peters is the guy. Wilton Speight doesn't look at it that way. Jim Harbaugh doesn't look at it that way at this point, saying that Speight is still Michigan's quarterback number one coming out of that game, but everything's subject to a competition. Everything is subject to change. And whereas you've got a guy who has read all the defenses and been in those situations and had to play at Iowa, at Ohio State, and knows what that's like, and that gives him a leg up, it doesn't give him a free pass. So if you're Wilton Speight, you want to take these last three practices, and when they are in scrimmage situations, show, okay, I'm going to make good decisions. I'm going to prove that, reaffirm that I am the guy here and ready to lead this team into the 2017 season.
No, there's no question Brandon Peters was the buzz after Saturday's spring game. But the one of the other areas, or surprises to me at any rate, was the offensive line play. And again, I went into the spring game with some low expectations. You just don't ever expect the offensive line play to be up to snuff in March or April, whenever the spring game is. But I thought the blocking, especially the run blocking, was very good. Pass blocking, a little bit shaky at times, but overall, pretty darn good for a group that includes a lot of young players.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and there's a lot of elements to that. You talk about young players, you do have some veterans to call on, and that's a key for this offensive line. You talk about having a Mason Cole to be able to kick out to left tackle, and the ideal would have been for Grant Newsome to still be healthy and at left tackle and Cole at center, but that's not the way it is. But to have him to be able to move over there and solidify that very important spot on the field, and have a fifth-year senior like Pat Kugler to step in. Michigan's had some very, very solid one-year centers, guys that have been groomed all the way through and really never risen to a regular starting position until their last year, and they've stepped into that center spot. I think of guys like Kurt Anderson and various ones that gave you that 1 year that you really, really needed. And it may be, in this case, that it's Pat Kugler, and he's a veteran. You've got to consider Ben Bredesen a veteran now after starting 8 games at that left guard spot last year. He's got the physical tools, and now he can step up. And Michael Onwenu, Jim Harbaugh wants him to drop some weight. He made that clear recently. The kid's 370. He can move even at that weight, but they're thinking about how well he can move if he sheds a few pounds this summer. But just a physically gifted young man. And then you've got guys, some talent battling out at that other tackle. And you made a good point that the defense is always ahead of the offense at this point in the spring as the offense is coming together. Then you add the Don Brown factor. Speight said afterwards that Pep Hamilton, the new quarterbacks and receivers coach, came in afterwards and saying, that Don Brown threw some looks at this offense that even Pep Hamilton, in all his experience in college, in the pros, had never seen. And that Harbaugh wanted to put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, and especially the starting quarterback. And Don Brown is going to have some weapons coming back. We saw that. We saw the speed of a Devin Bush flying through there. If he's not picked up correctly, he's on the quarterback in a heartbeat. So yeah, there were a few glitches that would need to be smoothed out. But the thing about it is, this offensive line looked better than a lot of people expected it to, and people that really closely monitor the individuals and the group up front. And so that was a plus coming out of that game, no doubt.
Just think of it, too. There were only 12 practices, counting that spring game because of the Rome trip. We had another practice in Ann Arbor last week, and then, of course, the 3 in Rome. So doubly impressive to me that the offensive line is where it was in that game. But now that the spring game is over and we've had a look at this team, your overall thoughts, John, on Michigan's offense right now?
I think Michigan's offense has a chance to be very potent, but it's in tandem. It's never in itself, because what your defense does has a lot to say about what your offense might do. There's no doubt that last year Michigan's defensive high level of production put Michigan's offense in some very good positions. I think, despite the fact that you're going to have an NFL draft this week that is heavily populated with Michigan defenders that were a huge part of that thing last year, I think that this defense is going to be in a position to do it again, because maybe not at as high a level. That might be asking too much at this point. But you see the talent that Don Brown has. I just think, you asked me about the offense, but I think that the defense is going to be able to put them in good positions. Now, that leaves you into, okay, Wilton Speight has had that year. He knows how to take care of the football despite what happened in the spring game. And he's got a lot of young talent around him. If that offensive line continues to grow and stays as solid as it is, this offense is going to be good. You've got backs that can get it done. You looked in the spring game and you saw Karan Higdon breaking out and having great runs. You saw Ty Isaac playing more physically, which the coaches are very excited about, in his final year in a Michigan uniform. And you also saw Chris Evans. They gave him, the part of the first quarter, just a series. They want to make sure that he didn't get banged up in the spring game. But even in the short time that you saw him, you saw a flash of him taking a wildcat snap. You saw him split out at receiver and catching a pass. Very versatile, great feet. And so the running backs are veterans and very talented there. And then you have this host of wideouts that some of them, thankfully for Michigan, got their feet wet last year, and guys like Kakoa Crawford and Eddie McDoom know what they're doing and are ready to jump in. But then you've got the building in the first-year talent behind them, Tariq Black with 50 yards and 5 catches, I believe, in the spring game, and then Donovan Peoples-Jones, who is a physical freak and is going to, he looks like the real deal, that he can supplement there. You've got so many elements to a good offense. It's got to come together. They've got to have a summer together, because Wilton Speight and Brandon Peters and John O'Korn have to get more accustomed to these younger receivers and vice versa, and put in the time and make sure that they're together, that the timing is there, so that the almost completion that might turn into an interception or a pick six, like you saw in the spring game, either doesn't get thrown, or the receiver makes a better cut, or they're more on the same page, so that becomes a completion instead of seeing the ball go the other way. Lots of things have to come together, but I really like the look of this, and I think that both offense and defense can mesh together into I've said this a few times. You've got Florida in the opening game, and that is a big, big showdown. I think one that Michigan can win. If Michigan gets by that game, I think it goes into Happy Valley at mid-season 6-0. And by that time, you've had a lot of time for these guys to grow up. So you asked me about the offense, and I kind of gave you the whole whole shot there, but it does work together, and I like where they are right now.
Well, and I, too, feel good about the offense, even more so after seeing the spring game. But I thought it was interesting. Last week I saw Coach Don Brown on with Jerry DiNardo on BTN, and he's such an intense guy, as his players say. But he was talking about what a great group of kids this is that he has to coach. Plenty of talent there, John. I know some folks are worried about maybe the depth on the defensive line needing to be filled in. But we have new linebackers other than Mike McCray, new faces in the secondary. So I suppose there are more questions than answers about this group right now, but one thing we do know is there is an abundance of talent.
There's no doubt about it, and I like his scheme. I like, you're talking about depth. We saw flashes of Carlo Kemp in that spring game. I think he's going to be able to add some there. They're working some younger guys into the defensive line. Those tackle spots are really, really important. A guy like Brian Monet, for him to stay healthy, which he has not done in the past. You've got an Aubrey Solomon coming in to take a backup role, very much like you had Rashawn Gary come in a year ago, and now you've got him as somebody that's going to be a standout up there. So there are parts to the puzzle that you have to bring along, plug in, all of that, and it's the same for the secondary. Not only do you have all new starters, but you've got to find depth as well. Yeah, there are questions, but you have to like the hands that they're in, and you have to like the fact that you look at Don Brown and think about the talent that he had at Boston College and what he did there compared to what he's got now. I think that he might not say it being diplomatic, but he knows he's got more to work with now in Ann Arbor than he had out in Boston College, regardless of experience. They've got to grow up in a hurry, a lot of these guys, but there's no doubt the guys that Jim Harbaugh has put in charge know what they're doing.
The other area that I was watching closely, and as fans, we oftentimes overlook it until the regular season when we miss an extra point or miss that big field goal, is that kicking game and the punting game. But I thought, as advertised, Quinn Nordine has one heck of a cannon for a leg, doesn't he?
I think that field goal is still traveling. I don't know if it went out one of the tunnels and out the stadium or not, but no, 48 yards and hits the top of the net. The ball was, it was just a bullet. That thing would have been good from at least mid-60s to high 60s, and that got everybody in the big house buzzing. It's one kick, but there's that one kick demonstrates that not only does he have an amazing leg, a very powerful leg, but that he could be accurate with it under pressure. So that's a big deal. Other parts of the special teams, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. We've got Brad Robbins that is coming in, excuse me, as a punter, and he looks like he has an extremely powerful leg. In some of the videos I've seen, drop the punt with Nate Johnson. You don't like to see that, but they've got a lot of contestants who could return those. So I think that it's going to be very solid, especially given the fact that you lost to Jabril Peppers and to Kenny Allen.
On the recruiting trail, though, which is always going full steam, Michigan picked up another 2 commits last week from the Texas Twins, then lost out on 3 high-profile kids, including the highest-ranked quarterback left in the class of 2018, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He announced Sunday night he's going to UCLA. I guess you can't get them all, John.
No, you can't. But I think they're very pleased with these defensive backs out of Texas. You got a couple of twins, and that's the ultimate package deal. You look at Michigan's recruiting, and going in that it is going to be a situation where they have to be pretty selective this year. It's not like they're going to be giving out 33 scholarships like they did a year ago or into the 30s. Even given the attrition that is bound to come, it's just natural throughout the year. They will have high teens, maybe 20 to give out this year. So they have to be a little bit more selective. You're looking at Eamon Green, 6'2", 173, as a cornerback, a 3-star, and German Green, his brother, 6'2", 180. These guys have the talent that Jim Harbaugh's looking for in a couple of defensive backs, and the mobility, the speed. It's a good fit. That's what they're looking for. They're looking to be very selective and with just a nice complement to what they have already. You've got a young recruiting class, young in the sense that it's early in the process, and they've already put an emphasis on defense. They've got 3 defensive backs already. These the Green brothers, in addition to Miles Sims, who is just a standout, maybe the star of the class at this point, the 4-star out of Atlanta. In addition to that, you've got a defensive end out of Dearborn, the legacy of Aiden Hutchison, who everybody remembers Chris, and that's his son. And then you've got Otis Reese, the linebacker out of Georgia. So 5 out of the 7 so far that they have commitments from are on the defensive side of the ball. That makes Don Brown smile. In addition, you've got a couple of a running back out of Georgia and the offensive lineman Emil Ekior out of Indianapolis. So, a good start for the recruiting class, and certainly what everybody's talking about of late are the Green brothers. Currently 3 stars for both under the rival system. I pretty much guarantee you that will be going up in the days to come as more people see what these guys can do and know the value that Michigan has placed on them.
I know fans get all nervous when we don't get everyone out there or some of these top commits, but don't worry, it's all going to work out. With us here on our Game Day segment this week is the editor of the Wolverine, John Borton. John, just a few things before we let you get out of here. Some other sports that deserve our attention. Coach Carol Hutchins and her team in the middle of a so-called reload year. They took 2 of 3 over the weekend from Wisconsin. Of course, no Sierra Romero this year, but the beat goes on, doesn't it, John?
Oh, there's no doubt. And Michigan softball is never going to fall very far. Now they've got a battle, in the Big Ten with you've got Minnesota up there, and Michigan's problem there is they don't get to play the Gophers, so they're playing catch up there. But what you know about a Carol Hutchins team, currently in second place in the Big Ten, is that they are going to come along and get better and better and be something to be a team that has to be dealt with in the tournament time. And it just is beyond me why you have a couple of contenders in the Big Ten and they're not playing each other, but that is what it is. And Michigan has a team that has held up pretty well so far. It is not like last year, but I think you've got some very solid players. Kelly Christner, Faith Canfield, that are hitting the ball extremely well. Abby Ramirez, and you got Megan Betza, who is just has been rock solid. 19-7 at this point, 1.30 ERA. I think that they are going to be a team to be reckoned with. As I said, as you get closer to the to tournament time and all that this program has done over the years, they don't want to fall too far once those big May games roll around.
No, and as you said, sort of crazy to figure out how the schedule makers left the 2 best teams in the Big Ten last year off the schedule as far as meeting this year. I mean, Minnesota's no joke. Last year they won the Big Ten tourney. Very good team. So I guess we have to wait until the Big Ten tournament to see them play, hopefully.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? But as you mentioned, that is a quality team, and it'll be fun to see when they eventually do meet.
Well, Coach Eric Bakich easily has his best team since becoming head coach at Michigan baseball, ranked in the top 20 right now, and they, John, are in the thick of the Big Ten race. Great season so far.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think that the baseball team has surprised maybe some people as good as it has been, and you were correct in noting that they are in the thick of the Big Ten race. They're 7-5 in conference right now, but 31-9 overall. And I like this team. There's no doubt that it is playing with some fire. They had a bit of a tough stretch against Indiana, losing a couple of games over the weekend. But I think this is a team that has got a decent schedule down the stretch, and I like what he has. I know that he likes what he has in place. You look at some of the people that are delivering for the Wolverines. You've got Aiko Thomas hitting 406. Michael Berdar at 448. You got Johnny Slater hitting an even 500. There are a lot of people that I look down this lineup, and a lot of strong offensive players, and they're getting some pitching. They're getting, it's deep in the number of guys that have won 4 or 5 games at this point, and so I think that this is a team that can stay in contention and really also point towards tournament time.
Starting pitching, the rotation has been very good, but the thing I like even better is that the bullpen is coming along real nicely too.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. These you see some excellent ERAs and guys that are able to come out there and close things down for them. It's good to see. There's no doubt they've had a number of players that, unlike our local professional team, I hate to throw that in there, but you have to be able to close a game out, and that's what Bakich has. At least to this point on his roster.
Well, it's going to be a big spring for Michigan softball, baseball, so I encourage fans, get out there. We've got 2 of the best in the country playing this spring, so check it out. Another sport, though, John, we don't talk enough about probably is tennis. Number 10 women's tennis, Big Ten champions again over the weekend for the 7th time in the last 8 years. Another great season for the ladies in what is an outstanding program. Again, we just don't hear that much about.
Yeah, you're right. And, it's tough sometimes for sports in Ann Arbor that don't happen to be, football, basketball, hockey. Softball has carved out its own sort of special place among the fandom because of, you're talking about decades of high level winning, and that starts to draw people's attention. Well, you are in that sort of situation building with women's tennis, and it's 7 Big Ten championships in 8 years is a very, very big deal. That's a bowl-like sort of streak from the 70s, and you have to admire and appreciate what these gals are doing. You look at Kate Fay, you look at Brianne Miner, some of these players that have really, really come on and led this team. It's impressive, and all credit to the staff. All credit to Ronnie Bernstein and what she's been able to do. It's impressive. It's the kind of thing that if you win at that rate, and Carol Hutchins went through this, your team begins to demand the attention that it might not otherwise get.
Very busy time of the year on the Michigan athletics scene, and this week, of course, we're going to be glued to a variety of media outlets to learn what's up with Michigan football and their Rome trip. So I invite you to follow it on thewolverine.com, and I am sure, John, you'll have plenty of coverage in the next magazine edition of the entire Rome vacation.
No doubt about it. Rome, Mel Pearson, basketball recruiting, you name it, it'll be in there.
Always the best, our Wolverine Bible. My guest on this week's Game Day segment has been, of course, the editor of the Wolverine, John Borton. As always, John, thank you for your time, and we already look forward to our next visit.
All right. Appreciate it, Mike. Always great to be on with you.
Quick Hits is next as we wrap it up for another week here on The Michigan Man on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. On Quick Hits today, number 19 ranked Michigan softball claimed its sixth straight Big Ten Conference Series and its second straight run rule decision, beating Wisconsin 8-0 in 5 innings on Sunday afternoon in front of a record crowd of 2,297 fans at the Badgers' Goodman Diamond. Michigan scored in 3 of 5 innings in the abbreviated game, plating 3 in the first to earn a lead it did not relinquish. Junior first baseman Tara Blanco provided the early advantage with a 3-run homer, while sophomore catcher Katie Alexander posted a double, a triple, and 2 RBIs. Senior pitcher Megan Betza, who is 19-7, earned her 10th complete game shutout of the season, striking out 10 Badger hitters. Her 6th straight game with double-digit strikeouts, while scattering 3 hits and 2 walks. The Wolverines, who are 34-10-1 overall, 14-2 in the Big Ten, will host their final Big Ten home series this weekend, welcoming Indiana for a 3-game set at the Wilpon Complex, home of Alumni Field. The series kicks off at 6 p.m. on Friday. Nearly every Wolverine recorded a run and an RBI on Sunday, as number 13 Michigan baseball rallied for a 12-5 victory over Indiana in the Big Ten Series finale at the Wilpon Complex, home of Ray Fisher Stadium. The win snaps a 2-game losing streak for the Wolverines and marks the end of Michigan's scheduled 18-game homestand. Again, the number 13 ranked Wolverines will return to action this Friday as they hit the road for a weekend Big Ten Series at Rutgers. First pitch for Friday's contest is set for 3 p.m. The Wolverines are 31-9 overall, 7-5 in Big Ten play, heading into this weekend's action. Like us on Facebook at The Michigan Man and follow us on Twitter, also at The Michigan Man. Our free show app is available from iTunes and the Google Play stores. And if you are an iHeartRadio person, you can find us there now. Just do a search for The Michigan Man and save us to your favorites. Once again, a programming reminder. In May, June, and July, we move to our summer schedule of 2 regular shows a month, and we'll throw in a Michigan Man Extra each month. We'll let you know on Twitter and Facebook when that will air. So next month, we will air on May 10th and 24th. In August, we return to our weekly schedule. Then during the season, of course, it's twice a week. And from December through April, once a week. So we are not going away, just slowing down to, sort of charge the batteries and get rested up for another big year of Michigan football, which, believe it or not, is right around the corner. So we'll see you again on May 10th. Until then, have a great Wolverine week, everyone. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!